So I'd like to thank you for joining me today. I'm a big fan of your work, so I'm excited to have you on, and it was so nice to meet you at BroadwayCon.
Indeed.
And so for the first part, can you please explain a little bit about yourself for those who don't know who you are?
Absolutely. My name is Joe Iconis, and I am a musical theater writer and performer. I've written a whole bunch of musicals that have played Broadway and off Broadway and at various theaters around the country and around the world, I suppose. And then I also have a concert act called Joe Iconis and Family. And so I perform concerts of my songs with a group of collaborators who I've been working with for a very long time, and these shows that kind of feel like a cross between like an old timey cabaret and a rock concert. And yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
That's awesome. And so I think what you're most known for by teenagers is Be More Chill. So, uh,
Mhm.
can you please talk about a little bit about your process creating Be More Chill, how you went about creating that?
Yeah, for sure. So I was commissioned to write Be More Chill by this theater in New Jersey, Red Bank, New Jersey, called Two River Theater. And they commissioned me in 2012 to write the show. And how that happened was I had read the book, Be More Chill. It was given to me by my agent at the time, Scott. And he gave it to me and he was like, you should just read this book because I just read it and it reminded me of you. It wasn't like you should turn it into a musical. He was literally just like, I feel like you would like this book would resonate with you. You should just read it. And so I read it and I was like, oh, this should absolutely be a musical, you know? And so I I knew I wanted to work with a book writer, and so I was a big fan of this writer Joe Trace. And I met with Joe Trace, and he was really familiar with the book because he worked at a bookstore, and so had like a really encyclopedic knowledge of YA literature, and was a huge Ned Vizzini fan. And so the two of us were like, let's write this musical together. And so we brought the idea to Two River Theater, and they really dug it, and so they commissioned us to write it. And that's like sort of that was the kind of origin story of the show. The writing process for it was as like painless as any writing process I've ever had in my life. It was just one of those projects where it just felt like everyone kind of knew what we wanted it to be. And it's always hard like working on a show, and there's so many hurdles and so many roadblocks. But this one just kind of like it went relatively smoothly through its developmental life up until its first world premiere production in June of 2015 at Two River.
That's great. And so I assume it was huge and that it would be going to Broadway as well. And so was there ever a time where you didn't think it was gonna be a strong musical?
Yeah, it's like because people like sort of know me through Be More Chill now. It might seem like Be More Chill was always kind of like destined to be a widely known musical. But the truth is that the show itself is like it's pretty strange. It's like it's not
Yeah.
like necessarily your like typical musical. And so like at the time, we didn't have like a big fancy producer behind it, and we didn't have like a famous person in it. And even though it's based on a novel, certainly in 2015, people really weren't all that familiar with the novel. And so it really felt like kind of like an original musical with really strange subject matter. And so when we opened at Two River Theater in Jersey, what was so cool was that audiences like really loved it a lot. And the coolest thing to me was that the audience at Two River, just because of the nature of where that theater is and who their subscribers are, the audience was older. It was like predominantly people in their like 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s seeing the show, and they loved it so much. And it's so funny to me because now so many people think of like Be More Chill as a show that is for teenagers. And
Yeah.
while I've always been so proud that it resonates with teenagers, and I always dreamed that like teenagers would see it and dig it, it was never like made to be like a show for teens. And like the first people who ever saw it, and like the reason that we ended up making an album, which is how we ended up coming to New York City and Broadway, is because people who are like older, people like 50 and above really dug the show. Like that was the first group of people who were like, this is really good. And so yeah, like, and so many times in its life did I think like, oh, this is the last time we're ever going to get to do Be More Chill. You know, like when we opened at Two River, there was a lot of buzz around the show, and then we got a very bad review in the New York Times, which for a show like ours can be very damaging, and it was to our show. And so there was no plans to do another production, and the only reason that we ended up doing the production in New York City was because our cast album, which we made right after we closed in Jersey, became like this viral sensation, you know, and it was sort of like the first album of its kind like that. Now, kind of like Six has sort of done that, and Beetlejuice and Ride the Cyclone. But at the time, there hadn't really been like a cast album that took off without it being associated with like a really famous show, you know,
Yeah.
and so like so many times I just felt like this is it for Be More Chill. And then like when we opened off Broadway and we got like another bad review in New York Times, everyone was just like, oh, there's no way this show's going to continue on. And like the fact that it did, it really is like, even though it's my show, it's something that like really gives me hope, you know, because like the show never had like, it never had an easy time of it, and it kept going, and it continues to keep going in a way that I think is really, really cool, because it's like a pretty scrappy musical. You know, there's like,
Yeah.
it's like very much like, it's like the sort of like people who populate the musical, you know, who feel like maybe they're not, they don't totally fit in. That's very much how like the musical itself is. You know, it's like, it's a musical that doesn't quite fit in with any other musical. It's like similar to some things, but
It's
it's
like
not. It does.
it's like its own genre of
It is. Yeah.
show, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
It
like
totally is.
currently there's no show on Broadway that is like Be More Chill. Like
Yeah.
the music's just like very like synthic and like
Hmm.
it's so like so different. Uh
Um, yeah, thanks.
yeah.
Thanks for
Uh
agreeing.
and so for besides Be More Chill, what got you into theater when you were younger?
So what got me into theater was the original production of Little Shop of Horrors, which I saw. My dad took me to see it as a gift for my sixth birthday, and I saw it on September 27th, 1987, which was 5 days after my birthday. And I was like immediately hooked on musical theater. And I loved Little Shop for sure, but it was really the experience of sitting in a theater and seeing a story being told with music and with puppets, and the whole experience of it, like the live aspect of it, it just immediately turned me into a lover of theater. And like I'm from Long Island, and so the city is very close, and I sort of grew up going to the city all the time because my grandparents were all, both sides were from, like my mom's side was from Brooklyn, my dad's side was from Queens. And so my grandparents all felt really super comfortable in the city, and so I would just like be there all the time, so it felt very comfortable to me. But like I just loved musicals, and my family was so supportive without fully understanding like why I love musicals so much. But I just loved it. It like from like literally from like 6 years old, it was just like this thing that spoke to me and continues to do so.
That's great. And so, are there any other Broadway actors or writers or performers that inspire you to this day to keep writing?
Oh my gosh, yeah, like so many, so many. I have I have like a real sort of like obsessive streak in me. And so when I love things, like when I love like shows or movies or artists, I tend to become like infatuated would be a nice word, but obsessed is like a more accurate word. So like I love seeing things a million times. And if there's an actor I love seeing every single performance that actor has ever done, and read everything there is to know about the actor. And so it's like there are just so many things like that. So like the show Cabaret is my favorite musical, and the revival of Cabaret with Alan Cumming came out when I was in high school, and I saw that revival over 30 times
Oh,
because you could volunteer usher for it, and so I volunteered usher for it all the time. And that's a piece of art that continues to inspire me. And like even the current production, which is so cool, but is really different from the one that I sort of fell in love with. It's still just like it's so amazing to me to see like a show that can have productions that are so different, and still the show retains what is special about it, and it's still like an affecting piece of theater. So Cabaret is one. Stephen Sondheim is eternally inspiring to me. Uh, William Finn, he wrote Falsettos, is eternally inspiring to me. I really love Carol Hall. Do you know the show, The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas?
I've heard of it. I think, yeah.
You should check it out. It is a really, really underappreciated musical. And Carol Hall is just like the coolest. She's just the coolest writer. And I just found out last night that my daughter shares a birthday with her, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, her, oh my gosh, who else do I love? I love Rob Kicki, who is a good friend of mine who wrote Lightning Thief. That's like his, best known show. But my favorite show of his is this show called Strange Tales, which is it's this musical that's like there's three mini musicals and they're all like these insane supposedly true stories that involve animals in some way or another. And so it's like there's like a bird in one, there's like cats and a dog in another. It's like the best musical. I love it so much. So there's that. And then oh my gosh, there's just like so many people who I love. I'm a big film guy, and so I love Paul Thomas Anderson. I love Sofia Coppola. I love Quentin Tarantino. I have like Pulp Fiction socks literally next to me right now.
That's great. And so, if I'm not mistaken, at BroadwayCon, you mentioned something about writing another musical, right now, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So, can you tell us a little bit about that?
I sure can. So I have this musical that I've been working on for a lot of years, and it's called the Untitled Unauthorized Hunter S. Thompson Musical. And we had our world premiere last year at La Jolla Playhouse, and we're going to be at the Signature Theater in Washington, D.C. Next year. And it is a musical that is about Hunter S. Thompson, who was a sort of counterculture hero. He was a journalist who rose to prominence in the late 60s, and he invented this style of journalism called gonzo journalism, which is basically putting yourself at the center of a story, of a factual story. And he was this really wild character, this renegade. He wrote about politics, about culture, and he was just a really just a really insane firecracker of a human being. And so the musical is about him, but it's really kind of about America in the 60s and 70s, which is like kind of similar to America today. And it's about, I think at its heart, it's about the power of art to change the world, which is something that, like, when I say it, some people might think it's like cheesy or something, but I believe in it firmly. And so that's what the show is.
That's awesome. And so, yeah, that's great. But if you could go back in time, what advice would you give to your younger self?
If I could go back in time, what advice would I give to my younger self? I'm always like, I'm always so bad at answering this question because it's like this is gonna seem like such a cop out, but I there are many things in my life and career that if I had the opportunity to do them over with the hindsight, I would do them over. However, I feel like if I would have done anything differently in my life, I wouldn't be where I am now, for better or for worse. It's like I could have a life that is a lot worse than my life right now, or I could have a life where I'm like, more famous and I have more money and I have 10 Pulitzer Prizes and 40 shows on Broadway and like all these things that I want, but I'm really proud of the things that I've done and proud of the mistakes that I've made, and I feel like all I ever want to do is learn from my mistakes and try to do better. Um yeah, I almost would say, like, to my to my younger self, like, just do exactly what you want to do. That, I think, is the only thing I would say. That would be too afraid. Oh no, I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Check one, two.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go. The next question kind of ties in with the other one. But what advice would you give to younger performers who want to be an actor professionally?
I would say so, like, a couple things. The first thing is I find that in theater, especially in musical theater, something that people who give advice love to do is make young performers, young artists want to like smooth out their edges. And by which I mean, um, so much of like musical theater performance is about trying to put people in boxes or in categories and saying like, oh, this person is this person is a soprano, this person is an alto, this person is like the comedic best friend, this person is the leading lady. And as you probably can imagine, if you know any of my work, that's a mode of operating that I just so do not do and that I don't believe in, and I think is just really boring. But I feel like young people are often encouraged to like take the things that make them weird and try to homogenize them or smooth them out. And I would say to please hang on to everything about you that makes you different and makes you strange, for lack of a better word, and makes you not fit in. It's really scary to embrace those things and not want to change them. But I truly believe that every artist ends up being better off if everyone just like embraced the things that made them a little bit different. So that's what I would say there. And the other thing, and this is like larger, is for, I think any young artist. I feel like when I was in school, I constantly had professors and teaching artists and all of these like, professionals come in and say to my class, if you can do anything else with your life that isn't being in theater, do that because it's so hard that if you can do anything else, you should do something else. And I always hated that so much. And I always wondered, like, I wonder if when I'm older, I'll still hate that idea as much as I do. And I do. And I hate it even more now because I think that like you should choose to do this life. And I feel like I'm someone who I could probably do a lot of things. It's like I think I'm capable of many things and I choose to do theater, even though it's a really hard life and it's a really strange life and there's no stability and there's so much stuff that's problematic with it. I think doing theater and making art is something that is a noble profession, and I think again that it has the power to change the world. And I love that I choose to do it, and I think that I just encourage young people to do it, because you want to do it and because you're like, yeah, I believe in this thing enough to spend my life or my year or whatever on it. And I think that that's a really brave and noble thing.
Yeah, that's great. And so that actually wraps up the question portion. But what I like to do with people I interview is do like either guess the lyric or guess the lines. And since you're most well known for Be More Chill, I have some
Hmm.
lyrics from Be More Chill, and we're gonna do a little guess the lyric.
Okay, can't wait.
So the first couple songs are gonna be from Act One, and then we'll do some Act Two.
Okay.
Alrighty. So this one is from Act One. Okay, here we go. Uh, Picture this. Nobody cares if you were late because even teachers think you're great.
The script song.
And what's next?
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Picture this. Mm. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. This is insane. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Timothy. Wait. Teachers think you're right. You're your weekend is a full-on slate of teenage benders.
You're half with it. It's your weekend's just a full-on slate of blow-up benders of teenage
Teenage rock star
benders.
splendors.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that was so hard.
And so this one is kind of from a scene, but also kind of from a song.
Okay.
Uh, let's see. Okay, there it is. Okay. Uh, Your ticks and fidgets are persistent, and your charm is non-existent.
Hmm. Uh-huh, 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 uh-huh. Uh, Ticks and fidgets are persistent. Your charm is non-existent. Fix your posture than the rest.
Fix your vibe and then fix some more.
Oh gosh. This
Okay.
is this is a nightmare. I'll just say that I am so bad remembering my own lyrics. I'm like, even when I perform like my own stuff, I always have the lyrics in front of me. Always, 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 always. There's like maybe 5 songs of mine that I can do from memory, and they're all songs that I've like been doing for over 10 years. This is very fun.
So when you were playing at Broadway Con, was that sheet music or was that lyrics?
Lyrics. I never use sheet music. I remember all of the music always, but the lyrics I just forget. Like I really, really do.
Because I think one of my favorite songs was I think it was called Album. Or it was from
Yeah,
Album. Yeah,
yeah.
that one was one of the best songs I saw performed.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you.
yeah. And so this one is a guy that I kind of be into. So that might help you now that you know the song.
Okay.
Okay. Uh, I don't always relate to other people my age except when I'm on the stage.
And I've got so many changes I want to pursue. Why am I telling this to you?
It's similar. There are so many changes that I'm going through, and why am I telling this to you?
Oh, okay.
Close, close.
Close. That was close. That
Yes.
was my best one. You know, it's so funny too. Like so many of my lyrics are like written and then rewritten that then it's hard when I have a little distance from them and I'm not hearing them every day. It's hard to remember like
Remember which
which,
one it is?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Have other people like had that experience? So you've done this
Oh
with?
yeah, there's been a couple people who done that, and then there's some people who are like either like backstage before the show or it's happening during the show. Like I'm doing the interview during admission or something, and
Yeah.
I give them the look and they're like, I have to perform this song in like 20 minutes, and I should be knowing this. And then they go on stage and perform it like perfectly. So
Yeah.
it's happened a couple times.
I love that.
And so my parents won't be home, so it's all right. They laundered money, now they're on the run.
No. No, I changed. I feel like you're intentionally picking ones that you know I changed a million times. This feels very pointed. Um, okay. Can you say it again? Say it one more time for me.
My parents won't be home, so it's all right. They laundered money, so now they're on the run.
So they're on the run.
And I'm going by what Pandora tells me is the lyrics. So
Because this is the that is okay. Because that is the yeah, that's the Two River version, and I changed it for New York and London. They laundered money down on the run. But it's a rhyme. It rhymes with money, and then it's like so that's fun. It's they laundered money. Now they're on their run. And mm.
it's wait, that's illegal, which means the house is empty, so that's fun.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even. Oh, that's what a stupid lyric. What a lazy lyric from me.
And
Though,
so
but
this
the New York one is the uh oh my gosh, no, I can't remember the New York one. It's nah, forget it. But it's a better rhyme,
and
whatever it
so
is.
so this one, if you don't get this right, the fans might be mad. Uh
Oh no. Is
so
it going to be pitiful children?
not yet.
Okay.
This one is actually like this is the anthem of the show.
Okay.
So uh okay, it's loading. Okay. And I can't help but yearn for a different time.
And I can't help but yearn for a different time. And then I look in the mirror and the present is clear and there's no denying I'm just do 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 do
Yep.
do 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 at a party. There we go.
At least you got that one. I mean, it feels like that's like the one that everyone knows.
That would be really embarrassing. If I got that one wrong, I feel like there would definitely be some kind of movement to prove that I'm not the actual writer of Be More Chill.
And so this one is the pitiful children.
Okay.
Uh, shiny, happy people singing sweetly. Gone is human error and fear. Beep boop 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 beep beep boop.
Honest human error and fear. Something, something wrapped away so neatly. And if you feel a sob or tear, just turn that knob and switch that gear.
So it's every issue tucked away so neatly. If you feel a saboteur, turn that knob and switch the gear.
Okay. I was pretty close.
And so this next one, it's actually going back into Act Two. So it's not after Pitiful Ten, it's before.
Okay.
Okay. Because I heard from Dustin Crop that Rich had barely touched a drop.
Because I heard from Dustin Crop that Richard barely touched and drop. So, so you can't blame the things he did on alcohol. It's just so terrible. I don't want to repeat it all, but do you want me to tell you?
It's everything except repeat, it's relive.
Relive. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so
All right. All right. All right.
you got
Close.
everything except that
Yay.
that would. And so this one is the final one.
Okay.
Uh and the voice all around you, and you can never mute them out. They scream and shout, I tune them out.
Voices all around. You can shout. You could scream and shout. Tune them out. There are voices all around. You can never mute the sound. Uh, tune them out. Wait, so the shout and tune them out was part of the one you said, right?
It's yeah, and the voice all around you can never mute them out. They scream and shout, I tune them out.
I scream and shout. I tune them out. I make up my own mind. And there might be voices in my head, but now they're the normal kind.
It's they make up my own mind. Might still have voice in my head, but now they're the normal kind. Voices in my head, but then now the normal kind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Not
And
bad.
so that wraps up the interview. I'd like to thank you for joining me today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Of course.